So I just made up a cute little formula for y'all that'd be easy to make, or that most people will have once they've added passion flower to it, or they might just have to add one of these other ones. I call it Pleasant Z's. So it's 3 parts passion flower, 2 parts lemon balm, and then 1 part each of chamomile and oat straw, with half a part of mint. So the passion flower, lemon balm, chamomile, oat straw are all considered part of a nervine in herbology. So they're all going to help to relax the central nervous system, help you induce sleep, good dreams, which I use passion flower a lot for, is for like nightmare remedies, and especially the children who are having nightmares, children who are really stressed and has led to nocturnal enuresis, which is bedwetting in children. So passion flower has been used in children for bedwetting and stress issues. So this is a great formula that anyone could really use. And the mint at the very end, you would think, oh, well, mint's kind of stimulating. And it can be. Mint is not considered technically an adaptogen, but it does adapt to the formula that it's put in. So if you put mint in a formulation with a lot of stimulants, like let's say you did mint with rhodiola and lemon zest and ginseng and things like in that nature, right? Things that are supposed to boost your energy. It's going to help to increase those properties of those herbs. But if you mix it with sedatives such as your passion flower, lemon balm, chamomile, it actually helps to enhance the sedative and tranquilizing properties of those herbs so that it gives it a more targeted focus. It really helps. We call it assistant in Chinese herbology. So with this formulation, you're going to be infusing it for only 5 to 10 minutes. That's because if you look at it, most of these are going to be all flowers and or leaves. So the volatile oils are very quick to be released from this. So you want to make sure you don't do it for too long because then you lose a lot of the good properties of it. And you're going to want to drink it 30 minutes to an hour before going to bed at the temperature of your liking. I don't suggest ice cold, but like room temperature, will be good. So, and with the 30 minutes to an hour before bed, that means 30 minutes to an hour before you are going to lay down and actually go to sleep, not 30 to 60 minutes before you go to your room and get in bed and then sit on TikTok for 3 hours. Because then your brain's still being stimulated. This is supposed to help induce sleep, a restful sleep, so that you're not too groggy the next morning either. Now, with the infusion, there's a few tips and tricks that I do with herbs that are very sensitive like this. I will boil the water, and as soon as it comes to a boil, pull it off from the eye of the stove, the heating mechanism that it's on, right? And then I'll put the tea bag in with all my herbs, and then take the lid of the pot upside down and place it on the pot. The reason for this is as the water evaporates and the steam goes up, it brings the volatile oils with it. It hits the glass or the metal portion of the lid that begins to cool quicker, and then it drops back into the water. So you're wanting this to happen so that way that the volatile oils are going to be in the infusion when it's ready to drink. There's other ways you can do infusion. There's sun infusions, which a lot of times with sun infusion, you got to leave the herbs out for a long time to get like the true medicinal properties of those herbs, because it does take to a certain temperature for the cellular walls of the herbs to break down so that the constituents come through as well. So that could be anywhere from a few days to a few weeks. And the fear of that is that mold or a bacteria could grow in your water, especially if everything wasn't sterilized properly ahead of time. So what you can do to make that, I don't want to say, yeah, and quicker, what you can do is you'll go ahead and make your infusion of your tea in a normal setting, and then take new fresh tea bag of herb, place it in the mason jar full of your tea infusion, seal it, and then leave it outside in the sun and the moon to get those energetics and that healing energetics of the sun and moon. But only leave it out for 24 to 48 hours, so that way you don't have to be as worried about bacteria and such growing. But still, if you notice anything funky growing on it, anything that looks discolored or weird, don't drink it. But that is a way that you can still get some of the energetics of sun infusion and moon infusion while still getting all the constituents that you're really wanting by the breaking down of the cellular wall for it to leach those out. So as I stated before, I am the Appalachian acupuncture student, so I will be putting in the Eastern energetics and uses of the herb, as well as some spiritual uses there at the end. But in Chinese medicine, this is a relatively new herb, as it was brought from South America to Europe and then to the Asias. Its name is, which my Mandarin is absent. It's not the best, but so correct me if I'm wrong, anyone who does know how to pronounce this. But Ji Qing Hua, and the Hua stands for the actual flower. That means flower. The energetics of this, it's bland, cold, and dry. So by looking at this, bland is kind of like a nutritive flavor. The cold will help to expel any heat or dampen any heat, and the dryness helps to get rid of any phlegm or fluid buildup that is like edemas and such. So in Chinese medicine, the action of this is to clear heat, calm the spirit, drains excess yang, and calms the liver and the heart. So the clearing heat obviously comes from the cold property of it. The calming of the shen or the spirit comes from the cold and bland. Draining the excess yang is from the cold, and calming the liver and heart is from cold as well. Um, with the calming the liver and the heart, there is a special relationship between the liver and the heart because the heart is the emperor, and then the liver is kind of like the commander. So the emperor gives commands to the liver to function out, and in the heart that's the shen spirit, and in the liver that's hun spirit. And sometimes the hun gets a little upset because the liver is hot, alcohol, fatty foods, fried foods, things like that, stress, irritation, anger, all builds up on our liver. And then what happens is the hun doesn't like a lot of heat. So he rises up to the heart and starts attacking the heart for space. And then we get issues like palpitations, irritability, upsetness, yelling, anxiety. All that starts to build up because the hun is attacking the shen. And in five elements, we have the way it goes in a generation cycle is that fire creates earth, earth creates metal, metal creates water, water creates wood, and then wood creates fire. There are cases, though, where an element can be so in excess it begins to attack the element it creates, or overexcite that element too. So here, the wood is in excess because there's heat in the wood. It's building up and it's pushing that heat and that energy to the heart, which makes the fire blaze out, and that's where you start seeing red face, heat in the chest, heat at night when you're trying to sleep and you can't relax, heated emotions. So that's where that relationship with the liver and heart is. Other functions includes moving qi and alleviating pain. When you move qi, you move blood, and that helps to alleviate pain. It extinguishes internal wind. And in Chinese medicine, we have internal wind and we have external wind. External wind is going to be what we call a external pathogenic factor, EPF. And you might have noticed this like when you're outside in the cold or outside and it gets really windy. And then next morning you get like a little crick in your neck and a little bit of ache. And then later you start getting the sniffles or cough or sore throat. That's wind that has settled in your external extremities, so your skin and muscle layer, which can go in deeper and stir up an internal wind. But most of the time, internal winds are generated either through like a blood deficiency, not like anemia or anything. In Chinese medicine, we have something called a blood deficiency, and where there's no blood, the wind takes space. It's done by agitation, irritation, anger, resentment. That all builds up and stirs in the fire, and then the fire pushes wind out. And that gets shown as like eye twitches, twitching of the hands and extremities, twitching of the sinews and joints as the liver controls sinews. And that's what we're meaning by internal wind. So we're hoping to extinguish that internal wind, which then helps to stop your spasming and easing your irritability. So that's how they all plays together. Now, this is one of those cases where the Eastern energetics matches the Western uses, and a lot of that probably has to do that China took the uses of the herbs that the Westerners brought to them and translated it into their own medicine. That's probably the case, and in seeing how it worked, they added things in as well, like calming the liver. So that's how we use it in Chinese medicine. So some ways that you can use it with that is to add it to a carrier oil and make an infusion. You can do this two different ways. You can put it in a mason jar and let it sit for 4 weeks with sunlight, so that way it breaks it down, and you're going to shake it twice a day to make sure that air doesn't sit on any one herb for too long to create molds. But then again, if you smell mold, see mold, seems a little off, don't use it. Or if you have an infusion machine, or even want to just do it as a double boiler over the stove, you can add the herbs to the oil and then cook it for however long you choose. I personally have a machine that I use that carbonates my herbs, so it breaks down the cellular wall easier. and then it infuses it. And I do it typically overnight, anywhere between 8 to 12 hours, and sometimes even a double infusion if I'm wanting it really concentrated. And you're going to take this infusion of the passion flower or a blend of herbs that include passion flower and apply it to various acupuncture points. Now, this is great if you're an acupuncturist, so you can add this as a modality. And this is all depending on your state regulations and your scope of practices as whatever you do. Like myself as a massage therapist, even the esthetician, I'll use acupressure points during my treatments to help stimulate more of an effect during it. So this is where I would use this infusion. Like someone say they came in and they've just been so stressed out, they just seem a little off, a little down. They can't find anything that brings them passion again. I would use this infusion in my massage and apply it to various acupuncture points that resemble the functions of the herb, such as clearing heat, calming the liver, calming the heart, calming the shen, inducing relaxation, which would include liver 2, which drains fire from the liver, heart 8, PC6, PC9, CV17 all benefit the heart and the chest, calming it, calming palpitations, calming anxiety, reducing heat in those areas. Gallbladder 43, which is the yin spring point of the gallbladder. And the gallbladder has a special relationship to the liver. I say like they're married because the liver is a yin organ to the gallbladder yang organ. So they're a yin yang pair. So when you work with the gallbladder, you indirectly work through the liver as well. And they're also both the wood element. So gallbladder 43 helps relax sinews. It helps to clear heat, as well as Sanjiao 2 and kidney 1. And kidney 1's great if you want to like boost kidney essence and um, kidney yin. And by doing that, you add more fluids to calm the liver because kidney is associated with water. So you're building that water up to cool down the wood that it generates. And yin tong, which is like your third eye, especially for sleep inducing, or if you're working on dream work or trying to do some lucid dreaming, trying to understand what your unconscious and subconscious trying to tell you through dreams. That's a great point. And it's another point, that one is CV17, which is kind of like in the center of the chest, in between, I can't really say the word online, but it's in the center of the chest. And you'll tap on both of those, and that helps to induce relaxation, lower stress, and help you fall asleep. I do that every now and then if I have insomnia. And this would be a great thing to add to that to kind of infuse it into the skin, into the body, and get those energetics. Now, this was just a few points for all those acupuncturists and acupressurists out there. You're more than welcome to do this wherever you feel is most adequate, or even through a reflexology treatment. This is just some of the ways that you could use it and some examples that I can give. So, suggested use for children. Now, I should have said this earlier too. It's at the bottom of all the slides. But the FDA regulation is that these statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration, and this product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. And with that being said, that means that everything I'm saying is educational, to give you ideas, give you the knowledge, so that you can use it to the best of your extent and your knowledge if you desire and choose so. Nothing I'm saying is supposed to cure or diagnose anything that you have. Now, for children, this herb is considered safe for children from the ages of 6 and up. You never want to give someone too young herbs because it can be harder on their bodies. But the way it works is that we're going to say that the adult dosage is at an adult person at 150 pounds, which in America, that's not really the average weight of an adult here in America. But so it's at 150 pounds. So that means you would take the child's weight, divide it by 150, and that gives you the percentage that you will then multiply by the recommended dosage to get the child's dose. So for example, let's just say your child is 50 pounds. You're going to take 50 and divide it by 150 to get that 0.33333, right? That 3 that just keeps on going. Which is technically a third of the dose. You're going to take that and then multiply it to your adult dose. So let's just say that your adult dosage is 1 full dropper of tincture of that herb. That means for a child at 50 pounds, you're going to give them 1/3 of that dropper. Now, you know your body best. The child will learn to know their body best. You're their parent or guardian, overseer of them. And you'll notice you'll know what's best for them as well. So if you give them that 1/3 of a dropper and you notice that they're still really groggy the next day, they just can't relax or wake up, they can't get to bed, that 1/3 of a dropper might have been too much.